There's nothing quite like a sunset in South Dakota. Look at that view. Our guest is Kyle Hupfer, a Hoosier who knows his way around the great outdoors, politics, basketball, and so much more. I hope you'll enjoy our conversation. Hi, I'm Dave Calabro, and I've covered some of the biggest moments in sports. But the stories that matter most are the ones that you rarely hear, because the game is decided long before the final whistle or the checkered flag. These are the people who make the big plays. Welcome to Playmakers. Brought to you by Indiana Members Credit Union.
Meet Chip. 30 years ago, he started a small business with a big idea. Today, there's a new building, a new fleet of equipment, and a new era of leadership. But we know Chip, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know he plans to keep growing, building business with the next generation. IMCU is here to help with secure and simple account management tools and commercial financing to grow business. Today, it's all about Chip. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Playmakers. I'm Dave Calabro. If you've watched basketball in the state of Indiana or you know anything about politics, you know this guy. This is Kyle Hupfer. Has quite a laundry list of cool things he's done in his career. He's the chairman of the Republican Party for 6 years, gave that up 3 years ago. You're a Hall of Famer at Manchester, a legend among players at Fiddleton Heights, right? A lawyer. And now you got something cool going on. We're in South Dakota. Tell people what this is all about.
Well, we're glad to have you out here, Dave. This is a place I bought a little less than a year ago, ScatterGun Lodge. It's a full-service, 2,200-acre pheasant hunting operation here. We do large corporate groups, small groups. You've got to go out and experience it yourself over the last couple of days.
Unbelievable.
It's a full service from commercial kitchen to bar to hunting. So we try to give every group exactly what they're looking for when they come out here. And it's some of the most beautiful land that you can find in South Dakota.
It is spectacular. We've been here for a couple of days, and you've been a very gracious host, so thank you. All right, so let's talk about your career, amazing run you've had so far. When did you know you wanted to get into politics? Were you a kid involved in that, reading and writing in school, or no?
I had an interest in it in college. I took some political science classes and got more interested when I was in law school. And then my first law job, we had a lot of political opportunities, go to events, meet people, and really took a liking to it. And then was just in the right place at the right time to really get enthusiastic about Mitch Daniels when he was looking to run for governor, and was one of the first handful of people who were out talking about him, helping him with his campaign. And then, of course, he went on to become a very successful governor. I went to work for him to run the Department of Natural Resources. And that's kind of where my, traditional legal career kind of got a little bit sideways, and then has gone through business and entrepreneurship and other things. But really that experience that Governor Daniels gave me, both on the political side initially and also just kind of watching how he had done things with business kind of propelled me in that direction. And, I met a pretty good friend early on in that too, Eric Holcomb. And so we had a pretty good run together ourselves over 8 years while he was governor.
What did you learn from Mitch?
He's a very, very smart person, very demanding, but just his style with people, very approachable, related to people, stayed in their homes on the campaign trail, and really got to know their kids and their families. And people in Indiana, it was interesting. By the time we got to the end of that campaign, they didn't even know where he was from. They knew he was from Indiana, but they didn't know where.
That's pretty cool.
He just became a Hoosier. Now, of course, everyone thinks he's a Boilermaker, but he had quite a run and quite an impact on the state.
Okay, so you did the DNR, worked at the DNR. That's where I met this guy in the back of the boat. We were doing a fishing story for
sure.
Channel 13. A guy by the name of Dean Shalley introduced us, and we did a little fishing on the White River, talking about how the White River had been cleaned up and now usable. That was pretty cool. So you went from there, and then what?
I was in politics, by then, started to do more things politically, but went and was General Counsel at ProAlliance Energy, then went did a small stint at a law firm before I was in-house again at Emmy, Indiana Mills and Manufacturing up in Westfield, that makes seat belts, retractors, and basically was in charge of most things that weren't manufacturing up there. So I had a pretty broad berth. And then during that period of time, I became state party chairman. We got Eric Holcomb elected, and became a member of the Republican National Committee through that. Then, kind of the sidetrack from the entrepreneurial side was, two friends, David Hartley, Nate Feltman, and I started buying packaged liquor stores across the state, and have rolled that up to where we're in the 60s of the number of establishments we have across the state. That's been pretty successful too.
That was wild. Now you're adding this to your portfolio, you might say. Political aspirations. Like 3 years ago, you decided that, you were kind of done doing the chairman gig, right? And now,
So yeah, I was really, that was
That's
a
a lot of work.
partnership between Eric and I. I did 7 years. That's, those are dog years being a party chairman.
Yeah.
And just felt like, with some of the business stuff I had going on, and law practice and kids that are still young and active especially in basketball themselves. So, just thought that'd be a good time to kind of take a little bit of a step back from politics. I'm still involved nationally on a couple boards that are deeply involved in Republican politics. I'm currently a candidate to be on the national board of directors for the National Rifle Association. Hopefully that'll be successful. So still staying involved politically, other organizations, but not anything day to day that I have responsibility for.
do you have aspirations to one day like run for governor? Have you chewed on that?
No, not too much, Dave. I mean, so much of that is just, it's out of your hands. Either all the stars align sometime and it's the right time and place and you feel called to do it, whether it's governor or any other elected office. Like, it has to all come together. I've helped too many candidates, and if it's not the right time and place and field, then people just shouldn't run. They got to be doing it for the right reasons and to help the state of Indiana or whatever they're running for. So I don't have any plans today. I'll never say never about anything in politics, because again, crazy things happen. I mean, we lived through one of the craziest episodes in politics between, Sue Ellspermann becoming president of Ivy Tech, Eric Holcomb becoming lieutenant governor. Shortly thereafter, Mike Pence gets selected to be the vice presidential candidate.
Yeah.
We have to have a caucus where, 18 state committee members basically pick the next Republican nominee who was the likely next governor of the state of Indiana. So you never know what the future holds.
Kind of fun. We talked early on in the podcast. I want to talk a little basketball. Played at Pendleton Heights,
I did.
and you were all state, right? You all
Yeah,
state?
I don't remember.
That's what your
right
buddies
then.
told me.
I
They thought
was
you
I
were
was
all-
okay. I mean, there were some pretty good players in my class.
Yeah.
Alan Henderson, Glenn Robinson. So there were some players. I would start with, I was maybe the second least successful Hupfer. The Hupfer girls have been much better basketball players and much more highly ranked coming out of Pendleton. And hopefully the next one who's doing pretty well is my daughter, who's a junior in high school, Ada. Is looking to where she's going to head to college to hopefully play, and all that's on track. And but yeah, everyone's that talks to about me says it seems like the girls in the family are much more successful.
They are talented. It's pretty
They
amazing,
are,
right?
Yeah.
What's it like as a dad? Are you a coach dad? Do you shut up and stay on the sidelines? You let the coaches, or you?
I mean, I coached some when she was younger.
Yeah.
Certainly taught her or tried to teach her a lot of things. She's got really good folks that work with her now that are professionals, that train people all the time, and it certainly helped her elevate her game far beyond what I could. I only yell at her.
Yeah.
I don't yell at referees. I don't yell at other folks. Sometimes I'll, give her a pointer or two if I see something, but probably less and less as time has gone on.
What do you try to instill in your kids when it comes to sports?
Well, number one is to not give up and to not let other people tell you what you're going to be. I mean, I always start with my own example. I mean, I was the B team starting center in 7th and 8th grade. I started on the freshman team. I played some very little varsity, mostly JV as a sophomore, and then was a starter as a junior. But I think I averaged 6 points, maybe 3 or 4 rebounds, and then by the time I was a senior, I was a top 6 scorer in the state, top 5 rebounder in the state, Division I scholarship. So, it happens for people at different times. my daughter's path has not been where she was the best player in the state or one of the best players in the state at a young age. She's had to just keep working at it. I tell my son that, boys develop later, and don't compare yourself to others, but don't let other people tell you what you are, what you can be, because they don't know. They may think they know, but anybody who's out there telling sixth or seventh and eighth graders that they have a ceiling or that they can't do this, they're just wrong.
I want to ask you about, after high school, you went to Manchester.
Uh-huh.
Young coach by the name of Steve Alford was your guy.
Yeah.
What were those years like? That's pretty fun, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I went to North Carolina Greensboro and transferred back at the semester my sophomore year. Coach Alford had been there the year before, was trying to get something going. Sam Alford actually ran into my high school coach when I was looking to think about transferring from the Division I school. We didn't have the portal. I was getting no NIL. And happened to run into him at a high school game and said, "Hey, I know Kyle's probably not going to go up there, but we go visit with him." And my parents and I went up there. My parents didn't really want me to go to the places that were offering me, like the thought of being at a school like that, closer to home, where they could see me play. And they really liked Steve. I mean, we'd watch Steve since I was a kid. They'd watched him, had faith in him, and then went from basically almost a winless program for a couple years to going undefeated until the national championship game against another undefeated team. And the town of Manchester rallied around it. We were getting a lot of exposure because Steve obviously was, at least in Indiana, a celebrity.
Yeah.
And so was quite a fun run. Met a lot of people through him, and have maintained a friendship with him today that's really, really special to me and very unique. And, keep in touch with him pretty regularly.
What made him so special, Steve Alford? What
you mean when he was a player?
No, as a coach. Well, I mean, what kind of impact did it have on you?
Well, I mean, what I saw from him, I mean, I'd gone to North Carolina Greensboro where I played against NBA players. Like, and the first time you do that, you realize really quickly that whether you are or not at that caliber, like it's a whole different level. And he got there and certainly wasn't a all NBA player, struggled to find minutes. Then you'd watch him as a coach when he'd do shooting clinics or things like that, and you're like, the capabilities and what you learn from him and talking to his dad and other people around him is he was just driven. And all of these folks that are successful in the NBA, for the most part, there's some that are just super physically talented that they just can't miss. But all these other folks, it's just a tenacity and a unwillingness to lose. And we would see that, like, the worst thing to do with him was to have like competitions, non-basketball amongst the team. I mean, he can be pretty competitive. So he didn't want to lose. And he instilled that in us, like, just, go out there and win. Don't take less than that and do the work that it takes to win. I mean, hard work is what's missing a lot today. I mean, that's what I tell, young folks that we hired a law firm. It's just like, if you just come in and you work really, really hard, you'll succeed. Like, that's becoming such a rare commodity.
Yeah, I was talking to some of your friends about your success and how you got here, and they all said the same thing, that you worked. I mean, you weren't handed all these things and all these opportunities, right? When did you know when to take risks and when not to? I mean,
I was pretty risk adverse. I've been pretty conservative, but you can be successful being conservative. I saw when I started at a law firm, honestly, it wasn't financial or other things that were driving me. It was more like just independence in being. Like, you had to get to a certain level of trust and control of your clients, or else you were always at someone else's whim. A partner calling you at 4 p.m. on Friday, and there goes your weekend.
Yeah.
So it was to kind of climb up, and you just saw there. I mean, everyone worked. The partners. It was a heavy time for corporate transactions, which is what I was doing: mergers and acquisitions, corporate finance. Every partner, every associate was working late, and you quickly saw that, not just in law, but probably in a lot of things, there's certainly people out there who are inventors or, very unique in what they do, or they find that one idea and they bounce off of it. Most people who are successful do it just by working hard and working every day. And when you see an opportunity, take it. In politics, I mean, politics is the most equal playing field that you can find. If you go out and you work for candidates and you help them get elected, you'll get more responsibility and more responsibility and more responsibility. And it all just comes down to working hard. It doesn't take, a great ingenuity or intelligence to go out and tell a message about a candidate. You just got to hit on every door after door after door after door, and you make inroads that way. And so I just think it's hard work. I mean, that's a lot of the people I've been around. I've seen it. They've been very smart too. You can't not be at least somewhat intelligent, but a lot of them make it just on hard work.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's, and I think you hit it on the head too. These days, it seems like some young people think, "Oh, I'm not willing to do the grunt work down here. I need to start up here. My social media says I need to be up here." I mean, it's a tough lesson. I think all of us had to learn at some point.
And you don't learn to practice law in law school. You learn it as you're practicing with other lawyers who are high level practitioners. I was blessed to have a couple great ones. Rich Thrapp was one of them, who just took hours to train me and teach me. All that happened after 5 p.m. That'd be 7:30 at night when you walked into his office, and Rich would say, "Hey, let's sit down and let's just go page by page. Let me talk through these things with you. Talk through why this phrase matters and why we don't want what the other side wants. And so that then you could later on articulate that yourself in a situation when it came up. If you're not there at 7:30 at night, you're not getting that lesson."
It's true. That's so true. Failure. We all fail.
Oh, sure.
How have you, was there a moment in time you started questioning yourself? Not doing the right thing, or have you always, did you have that kind of setback ever?
I don't know about questioning myself. I don't know that I was ever that place.
Yeah.
I certainly can go through, I ran for the state house and lost. But
and you learn from all those things.
Take positives.
Yeah,
right?
man.
That's what you have to, I think I've always tried to have the mindset that, put stuff in the rearview mirror, take a lesson from it. And don't let it slow you down, because you're going to fail. You're going to not get every win. Think the ball bounces the wrong way. We lost a national championship game. Trust me, I think about that a lot more than the 31 wins that year. So try to just keep your head down and plowing forward and see where it takes you.
Yeah. If you're wondering why we're hot, it's warm here in South Dakota.
And this is not what the normal. This is not the normal temperature for this time of year.
It's pretty cool.
It was 3 on Sunday. So
isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Now it's 80 something. Parents, were your parents? Did they push you? Did they loving parents?
Loving parents. My mom came from a large family in Pendleton. I never met my grandfather. He passed. My grandmother, Ruth Honnold, was the kind of patriarch. I took a lot of lessons from her. She was a school teacher. My mom was a school teacher by training, but didn't really teach much. She kind of stopped teaching when I was born to stay home until she started substitute teaching some later as I got a little bit older and my siblings got older. My dad was a self-made guy. Had a private investigation business with a partner that was really successful, very street smart, savvy man, knew everyone, remembered everyone, very good at he would have been a great retail politician. If he would ever wanted to do that, that's not really what he wanted to do. He was a great basketball player, led the city in scoring a couple times at Cathedral.
Wow.
I wouldn't say they ever pushed. They certainly signed us up. They certainly did the work. My mom and dad put thousands of miles on vehicles.
They were there for you.
Yeah, they gave us the opportunities. They were tough love. Coaches were right. We were wrong. No, that's there's that's another thing that sort of changed. We see a lot of parents out there now who think that their kid can do no wrong and coaches are the wrong, and I don't think that teaches these kids the lesson their parents probably want them to have later in life, because bosses are right whether they're right or not. I don't know, but my parents were great. Four kids all graduated from high school, all with full ride basketball scholarships.
Wow.
And again, without pushing. I mean, I don't remember my parents ever yelling too much. I mean, again, sort of at us at times to push things, push ourselves, but not overly pushy. I never felt they were, especially my mom. My mom was always your time will come.
Yeah.
Your time will come. Just keep putting the work in. Your time will come. She had a brother. I mean, we had from both sides. Her brother was a really good athlete. Had two brothers who were really good athletes at University of Indianapolis. State high end pole vaulter, one of them, basketball player, another one got tryouts with the Pacers. So had size on both sides of the family, some athletic ability on both sides of the family.
Wow.
So, still together, loving, always very supportive.
You lived the charmed life, dude.
I don't know about that, but
I
feel blessed.
Oh, yeah, you should. Absolutely. I want to go back to politics because I'm fascinated by it.
Okay.
So many cool experiences for you, just from a guy like me. Like when I say, what's the coolest thing you?
Oh, I got to do some pretty cool things during the time I was state party chairman. I mean, I stood and talked to Benjamin Netanyahu in his office in Israel.
Oh, wow.
I was in the Oval Office with President Trump and Vice President Pence. Got to speak at a couple Trump rallies, which were pretty cool. I mean, the crowds were pretty amazing and nuts. And, we would go to Republican Governors Association. So you're in a room with every Republican governor in the country, which was always very interesting. And we went through COVID, which, at least probably for my generation will be maybe the defining event. I don't know, it was certainly a lot of lessons learned. I think people tried to do the best they could through it. I think Indiana weathered it very well, but it was so many unknowns and so many situations but that was an interesting time. We had to go through elections during the middle of COVID.
That's right.
Figure out how to put them on, moved election dates, I had to figure out how to put on a state convention when we couldn't meet. And, we had a very unique, trying time.
Yeah. I'll switch gears. Let's talk about ScatterGun Lodge.
Yeah.
Paradise, heaven on earth, folks. I got to tell you, this place is unbelievable. So we've been out here for about 3 days. Kyle, some of his high school buddies and
college,
law
school.
Yeah, a lot of great guys. It's been a lot of fun. So thanks for the invite. 2,200 acres. How did you come up with this idea to buy this place? Has this been like a bucket list thing?
Well, I go back. I think the first time that Indiana did their Indiana 250, the IBJ.
Yeah.
They ask you some questions to fill out. One of them that I put in, and I think it was in the actual magazine, was, if you could take a year sabbatical, what would you do? And I said, I'd go guide. I wasn't specific in what. And, but before the song Buy Dirt, I've been a pretty big believer in land, like as far as an investment, long term, not making any more of it. And so I had some land in North Dakota that I hunted on. And so I was just always looking. I look at Indiana too to see, what's selling and what's listed and how much this stuff's selling for, just to kind of keep educated. And I saw this parcel come up. I did some due diligence around it. It was in an estate. There were some lawsuits fighting around the estate. And, we've done a lot of deals, both for clients and for ourselves. And I've done some real estate and, obviously the liquor stores, we've done a lot of deals. So I started looking at it from a valuation standpoint, and could you make it work? Like, could you get it back to the level it was 10 years ago when the original gentleman who created this place had it really humming? And I think we can. We're well on our way. I think, we'll probably double the number of hunters we see in 2026 compared to 2025. We'll have some capabilities for some further growth then in 2027. And I think then, we'll be kind of at capacity. And, it's a way to acquire land, conserve land. This is one of the tenets I really believed in and took from my time at DNR is, I believe government should be protecting land when they can. There's not that many big tracts left, especially in Indiana, where, the state makes sense to own it and manage it or operate it. So when those pop open, we got to find ways to, try to scoop those up. But, this is a place that, I've not counted them, but I've been told, I looked at some of the records, that they planted almost 1 million trees on it back in the early 2000s. And,
Wow.
there's more trees on this property than probably in the next 20 square miles. You've driven
Yeah.
around here a little bit.
Yeah.
It's pretty flat when you get off of here and not a lot of trees. So, a great conservation project. And I think long-term will be a really fun business. It's really fun to be out here with a packed house. We can house 32 folks.
Wow.
And when they're all out hunting and having fun and hunting, it's a really great time. And you've seen that. We've had 18, 20 guys hunting the last 3 days. So you've got to see that
What fun.
it's fun when it gets rolling out here.
Yeah, if you've never done it, I highly recommend you check it out. You have a website.
Yes, just scattergunlodge.com.
Yeah.
Yep.
And sign up now because
Yeah.
spots are going to fill up, right?
This is the time of year that things are being booked. We've been at shows to add some customers and make some new relationships. But yeah, everything will kind of booking ends, May 15, probably. Most things will be booked up by then.
So get after it. We're going to do this.
For sure.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, thanks for the time, man.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave.
It's fun catching up and good luck with everything.
Appreciate it.
Kyle Hupfer right here on Playmakers, brought to you by IBJ Media. And thank you to Indiana Members Credit Union for the sponsorship. We're in South Dakota, God's country. See you later on the next episode. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for watching and listening to Playmakers, brought to you by IBJ Media. I'm Dave Calabro. I hope you'll subscribe on YouTube or wherever else you get your podcast. Until next time, we'll see you later.